Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Homewrecker Podcast. I am the Golden Greek Alex Aria, and I'm joined, as always, by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, Monique. You're looking incredibly beautiful today.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am absolutely fabulous. Thank you.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. All right.
Thank you.
Just trying to get over how great you look.
Aw, thank you.
She's my wife. I love her. What can I say?
Thank goodness for that, right?
Yes. So, we're back again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. We come back as often as we can on the show. And this time, we're going to talk about something. It's kind of, well, it's along the lines of what we typically talk about, the kind of stuff that we talk about. It's a little different, though. I'm going to warn everybody ahead of time. I may get a little sappy during this episode. Because this was like really, well, I guess we should probably tell everybody what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We watched a documentary called Witness of Another World. And it's basically, it's a UFO abductee kind of story, which I don't think, we haven't really talked about any of that kind of stuff yet on this show, have we?
We did Betty and Bernie Hill.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I guess we have. Sorry, I used to get hit in the head a lot, so I forget these things. Now, this documentary came out in 2018, and we watched it on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon, you can, and you're a Prime member, you can also watch it there as well. And it's about a gentleman by the name of Juan Perez, who had a abduction experience encounter.
And I don't know if it's necessarily like abduction, but it was an encounter with what seems to be possibly aliens.
They kept calling it the phenomenon.
Yeah.
In the film.
Well, because of everything that happens after.
Right.
And the way the documentary goes, it kind of makes sense to put it that way, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Now, so I guess, do you want to explain the encounter?
Sure.
So now it takes place in Argentina.
Yeah, so in Argentina, when Juan Perez was 12 years old, his father told him to go out and find the herd of horses that, I guess, were out in the field. So he got on
This was their horses.
Yeah, they had a farm, I guess. He got on his horse and he went through some type of fog. And he saw lights in the sky. And I guess something happened and the horse got spooked. So they went back to the house and his father's like, get back out there. Go get the horses. So while he was out there, he sees this UFO land on the ground. And this door opens and there's this being. And I guess it was referred to, not necessarily in this documentary, but in his story as a giant. So I think it was 7 feet tall. And it was in some kind of suit with a breathing apparatus and had gloves on. And he ended up, like, I guess it told him to, like, come forward, like, come closer. And there was a ladder that came down from the ship. So he tied his horse to the ladder and he entered the ship. Well inside the ship, he said that he saw what looked like a boy or another person cutting meat. He saw a control area, like a panel, but he tried to get through and he couldn't. It was like glass was there, something stopping him from being able to get through. And he was told that they had to go take care of something. He got spooked, he got off the ship, got his horse. The being, giant, what have you, I guess came down and grabbed him by the arm. And I guess he asked, like, can I have proof so I can tell people that you're real? And the being gave a glove. And I guess according to his story, and this was not mentioned in the documentary, but according to his story that's been published elsewhere, the hand was green with long metallic fingernails. The boy tried to leave, and I guess the being grabbed him and dug his nails into him. And in the documentary, they mentioned he still has a scar, like one of the things from this encounter. And I guess he ran off, he got on his horse, he ran off, and then as the ship went by, there was some kind of magnet and it pulled the glove out of his hands. And because of this, he was traumatized. And he started having dreams where he was seeing the future. He became clairvoyant through his dreams. And he felt like nobody was going to believe him. And because of that, it traumatized him. And this was back in 1978, and then the documentary was made in 2018. And he still, like, just thinking about everything, you could see the trauma, you could feel it, and it was very heartbreaking.
Yeah, a minute ago when you were talking about the being grabbing him and giving him, I'm obviously people listening can't see, but I was motioning to my arm. It shows several times he touches the side of his arm where you can see he's got the little scar that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the thing that got me most about this is why I kind of said I might get a little emotional, is you could tell that this guy has gone through some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You can just see. I'm trying to figure out a way to properly express this and put it into words, but you could just see looking into his eyes and just hearing him talk. And he wasn't speaking in English. What he was saying was subtitled because he was speaking in Spanish. Right?
It sounded like Spanish.
Spanish, I believe Spanish. And you could just see looking into his eyes and just the way he was speaking, you could tell this was somebody that was very sincere and has gone through years of mental, emotional anguish and pain. But you could just tell that this was like and he's my age, right? He's got to be 43, 44 years old, right around there, because he had the experience when he was 12.
No, this happened in 1978 and he was 12. So he's about 13 years older than you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, September 6th, 1978.
Okay, so I apologize. My timeline's all messed up. See, that's how much I got hit in the head many years ago. That makes it even worse then. That makes me even more sad for the guy. But yeah, he's a mess.
Yeah,
he's an emotional mess, and you could just tell, like, this guy has been through some stuff. And just looking into his eyes and the way he's talking, especially at the kind of the beginning of the film, when he's like kind of relaying some of his experiences and the traumas and stuff that he's been through, and you can just tell this guy he almost seems like he's still that 12-year-old kid.
I think what happens is, like when it comes to... He just
seems to me like he's still kind of emotionally
and
mentally, he's still almost like, just still that 12-year-old kid is still there.
Because it's those memories and those feelings of those memories, I think, are what's kind of coming back. So when something really traumatic happens to you, I think for some people, it's like you're just in your mind living it over and over. And it's hard, even if you're an adult, to realize, like, no, I'm an adult now, there's nothing to be afraid of. And it wasn't even necessarily fear of what happened. It was fear of people not believing him, fear of people thinking he's crazy. Once he started having clairvoyant dreams, people not believing him, and that was his biggest fear, is people not believing him.
Yeah.
And I really related to that. Like, listening to him, watching him, I was like, I didn't go through what you went through, but man, I know what it feels like. I was a little girl and I talked to trees and rocks, and I saw things and talked to everyone and everything, and I have lucid dreams and I see things in my dreams, see things that come to fruition. And for the longest time, anytime I talked to like peers about it, it was like, oh, that's weird, you're weird, kind of that thing. And as I got older and I got into tarot and everything, it was kind of looked on like, okay, freak. And I never felt like I fit in. I felt like I just didn't belong. I could have friends, but I never felt like I really fit in. And I felt judged by people. And I felt like they think I'm crazy. So I stopped talking about stuff because I didn't want people thinking I'm crazy. I know I'm not crazy. I know that, I can talk to my spirit guides and talk to other energies, and I know that I can do and see things in my dreams, and I'm special in that way. I have gifts, but when you're younger and the people around you judge you, it does give a fear. And for him, having such an experience, it was like my heart broke for him. Like it was so sad.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I felt so bad for the guy.
I just wanted to like hug him.
I was gonna, yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Like, geez, this poor guy has been through hell. And I think a lot of it's just self-imposed, just because of the way he was feeling and how the fear that he had of being ridiculed and not accepted by his community. Yeah, it was just so heartbreaking. But I think that they did a really good job of telling this guy's story, and kind of the filmmaker, Alan Stivelman,
I think.
Stivelman. I apologize, I'm probably messing that up, but
I feel like he really wanted to help him.
Yeah, you could tell he really wanted to help this guy out, and I think he did, because by the end of the film, who knows how long, I don't think it ever said how long the film took place over or anything like that, but I want to say it had to be at least a few months, I would think. You could definitely tell the progression.
Well,
this guy got...
Let's explain what had happened, like how things progressed.
Sure,
so
please.
This guy is living alone. I mean, he's in solitude. He has his own little farm. He has dogs. He hunts. And he talked a lot about his grandfather and how important his grandfather was to him. And so the director went to Paraguay to a tribe from his lineage. His ancestors came from a specific tribe, and he went there and he talked to them. He talked to the shaman, and they started explaining, like, no, he's not crazy, because this is like, some people are basically like sent to be messengers from God, and it's a messenger of God comes down to give this gift so he can deliver a message. And it was basically saying that he's not crazy, and this is really important, and it's special. And this is very, like, paraphrasing, long story short. And it was very beautiful listening to the shaman, and there was a song one of the shamans sang, and it was really lovely. And the director came back and showed him the video, and like, you could see a difference right there for him. And just like, and sometimes that's all it is, like, oh my God, I'm not crazy, there's other people like me. And it makes you feel so bad, like you wish he was just in that village in the first place so you wouldn't have to go through all this. But you and I had a conversation this evening after we watched this documentary, and one of the things that we were talking about was, kind of like, sometimes you wish that you got to somewhere in your life sooner than you did. But I believe that everything you go through in life, it has to be that way. All the traumas you go through, all the rough times you go through, all the good things, it's because that's your path. Whether good things happen, bad things happen, you need to be challenged in life. And it's your job to overcome these things. And so that's your journey. So as much as like you're watching this documentary and your heart's breaking for this guy, and you just wish that he never had to go through that, and he was around people who understood and comforted him and told him, like, no, this is a good thing, and you're special. I kind of look at it like that this was his path, and if he didn't go through this, just even on like the minute scale of, we wouldn't have watched the documentary because there wouldn't have been one, and we wouldn't be talking about it. Not saying that's why everything happened, but I'm just saying, like, it's the butterfly effect. It ripples out everywhere.
Sure. And he talked, one of the things that he talked about, one of his dreams that he had, where they were kind of theorizing he was maybe seeing the end of the world was coming.
Well, I kind of took that in two different ways.
Well, again, you could take it as that, or you could take it as... Go ahead and explain how you took it.
So, the female shaman that they were talking to talked about the blackness, and you see darkness coming upon you. but then once you go through it, it's light. And that's where you get a message. So I think it kind of feels like he's seeing this darkness coming, but then I thought back to what she said, and maybe I misinterpreted it, but I kind of took it as like that's his door coming to open for him, and he's going to go through the darkness, kind of like how he went through the fog. He's going to go through this darkness, and then there will be light for him. That's how I kind of took that.
Yeah, and then the other way was taking it as the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. And he's seeing that, and because there was another part where they talked about that, and when that time comes, he kind of transcends. He moves on, and he'll be elsewhere after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So very, very good, and they had Dr. Jacques Vallée was a big part of the movie as well. He initially interviewed young Juan back after he had first had his experience. So his story was pretty well known among people that follow this kind of stuff. I had heard of it many, many years ago, but I never knew all of these other things that obviously you learn when you watch a movie dedicated just to this.
Yeah.
And I never knew, obviously, the heartache and pain that this guy was still going through. I mean, he's been alone this entire time. Doesn't have a companion of any kind, not married or doesn't have a girlfriend, nothing like that.
It said like he traveled from village to village.
Yeah. And when they showed his farm that he has, just a small little house that he has, that he's just by himself with his dogs, and
he has like goats and
you look around when they were outside, there's not a neighbor in sight. There's nobody even close.
But that's the thing, he wanted to be in solitude because he's
right.
so traumatized from it, and it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But heartbreaking, I guess is the best way to say it. But again, like I said, it's just something about this guy. You gotta watch the film. I honestly, we watched the trailer at first, and I was like, this looks like it could be okay. And like I said, I'd heard of the story, many years prior. I wasn't expecting what we got though, because it was very just like, I don't know. It wasn't like anything super crazy exciting.
It's not that anything super crazy exciting happened, but he ended up going to Paraguay.
Yeah.
And went to the village and spoke with the shaman, and basically it was like nobody leave him alone. Like everyone stay with him because he's still very, I guess, fragile. I think is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
With everything, like the whole village, like they took care of him. They were, including him in everything. And I remember like watching it and just thinking, I could live there. So simple. Like they live in huts,
yes,
and it's so simple. But I'm like, I could totally like give up everything and just go live with these people. And
it's funny because I was thinking the exact same thing watching. I'm just thinking, I'm going, oh man, life like that is just It's so simple. You're with the people you love and care about. You wake up, you make some food, you go out, you play, you enjoy nature, you enjoy being with your loved ones, and then you eat again and you go to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Rinse, repeat. That's life. That's living right
simple.
there.
Like
I would totally give up everything in civilization to just have that.
Yeah.
Just be.
But part of it is because of the people in the village, and it's like together. And that's what I think is so awesome, is just having like everyone support each other. And
that's true community. That's true. We're in this together, not this bullshit they peddle nowadays. Yeah. We're in this together. Yeah, fuck off. Alright, sorry. Anyway, I was going to try to get through a show without mentioning any of this nonsense, but what can I say?
Alrighty then. So, yeah, but I just thought, like, I could still live there. And so they had a ritual, because part of it is what they do is they have the name he was given, but then they find his ancestral name.
Yes.
And so there's this ceremony that's done, and he partook in it. And oh
goodness, it was cool.
It was beautiful.
It was definitely fitting. I can't remember it now. I'm sorry. It was
Messenger from Heaven or something.
It was something along those lines. Yeah. It was very fitting for.
But
for him.
Seeing him too when he was there, and that relief of like, these people get it.
Yeah,
I'm
he was
not
like a whole new
crazy.
person. It was weird. You could almost see the transformation in his face.
Yeah.
It almost looked like he, not aged, but almost like he lost 10 years of age. He almost looked
Oh my
younger
gosh,
and
yeah.
happier and just so much more
It's like
full
you
of
could
life.
physically see
Yeah.
this like weight off of him.
Yes.
And like more life brought into him.
Yeah.
And I, you know, it was like in his skin, in his eyes, like
Yeah.
in his smile. And then this time, like when he was crying, it was because he was happy.
Yeah.
And it's like you get so happy for him, and you're like, yay! And again, I want to jump through the TV and hug this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And when they had, I mentioned Jacques Villiers, when they had him come back to see him and talk to him, and he was just happy to see him because it was a familiar face who listened to him when he was telling his story all those years back and didn't judge him and just took it for what it was. And it was great hearing Dr. Vallée speak about the initial time when he spoke to him back when he was 12 and just explaining how everything he said was so... What was the word he used?
So he said it was helpful because his wife was a child psychologist.
Yeah.
And when children describe things, they're not. It's kind of like they just say, you know, from the mouths of babes. They just tell it like
they
it
just
is.
tell you, right? Thank you. Yeah, no room for interpretation.
Exactly.
Or
They're
adding
not,
in their own commentary. They just give you the facts.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what he did.
And especially during something traumatizing, because kids are just kind of, they see what's going on and they just tell you what they saw.
Right.
Adults sometimes embellish, or they take their interpretation of something that it might not be. So.
Yeah, and Dr. Vallée said that he didn't get, he got this kid and he got complete facts of what happened. He got the description of everything, and it was very clear, and you could tell the kid was being sincere and wasn't lying to him or anything like that. And then when they both saw each other again, the kid's like, Juan, who's now in his 50s, right, looks at Dr. Vallée and says, you look exactly the same. I don't look the same. I've put on a lot of weight, but you look exactly the same. It's just kind of a cool thing, and it's all in subtitles, but you can tell by the way they're talking, because Dr. Vallée speaking to him in his native language, and they're kind of talking back and forth. You can just tell that there's genuine happiness there, and just like a familiarity from Juan, and it was just really cool to see. Like the whole, it's just such a simple thing, but it was just so beautiful to see.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the big takeaway from it. Just seeing how much impact people's opinions and views can have on you if you allow them to.
Yeah.
Now, granted, this particular situation, this is like a once in a... This doesn't happen to everybody, so this obviously isn't common,
But they brought up, too, they had, two other guys who had encounters that very same day.
Yeah.
Same day, same year. So that same day, there were two other men who had encounters. One was not a super young boy, but a boy. He was riding his bicycle. And the other one was, I think, a teenager driving a car. And it was, what they said was, because we didn't mention, one of the doctors who also helped Juan when he was a child came back, and he was able to do hypnotherapy with him, and he had him go back, and he's like, "Are you afraid?" And like Juan's like, "Nope." And like every time he'd ask, "Are you afraid?" And when he got upset because his horse got hurt at one point. And then he also, at the very end of it, said he saw his grandfather, and he got upset because he was happy. It wasn't like he was upset because he was afraid. He was happy to see his grandfather. So when they're talking about these two other guys and their story, it was mentioned that of the three on the same day when this happened, the other two guys were afraid. One was the only one who wasn't. And part of that, they kind of portrayed like that's part of him being selected. You know what I mean, for this gift, because he wasn't afraid.
So what I was trying to say was, you can see the impact that other people's opinions, comments will have on somebody, especially at a young age like that. So it was just pretty interesting to see that, and just to see. I mean, yeah, not everybody's had an alien abduction experience or some kind of a experience like that to be ridiculed, but just seeing the effect of people's comments, or just people may not have even done that then, but just the fear of it is what led him to live a life of solitude for so many years until somebody, this filmmaker, decided, I'm going to go, this guy's story interests me, I'm going to go see what's going on with him and talk to him, and because I guess he'd heard that he was living alone in solitude because of the trauma from the experience, and so he wanted to go and just kind of help this guy out, and I think he did, and what brought him out of everything was just community and interaction with other people who accepted him and didn't judge him and treat him cruelly. And that just
basically people who didn't think he was crazy.
Yeah, just people that accepted him and took what he said and didn't judge him for it and said, okay, that's what happened. We understand. Yeah. So I just thought it was just a really, really simple story, but it's so moving and impactful.
Yeah.
You just see it's humanity. I mean, we're human beings. We're meant to be together. We're meant to share experiences with one another. We're meant to love one another.
We're meant to support each other.
We're meant to support each other, and you can see what happens when one of us decides that we're being shunned or we have been shunned or whatever. You see the effect it has on somebody. And just seeing the effect it had on this guy, it was heartbreaking. But I'm so glad that it ended up the way that it did. It's sad that it took so long for it to get there, but he's where he is now. He's in a better place, and it was just a beautiful thing to see. But it just hit home, especially with what's going on now. You can't do this to people. This is not living. This is not humanity. This is not civilization. Keeping people isolated from one another. Yeah. Granted, we're currently with our families, most of us, but
people were doing it to him. He
was doing it to himself, right? But I'm just saying, you see the effect that solitude has on a person.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm getting at.
But I think part of the problem, and maybe especially years ago, is things that are so out of the ordinary. They look at, like, you're a joke to a lot of people. I think even nowadays, you know, people are coming around being more open to things. But there's so much that people shun and they joke about I think it's because it makes them uncomfortable. That's how I look at it. So, you know, if you say
anybody that jokes or that judges you or pokes fun at you or anything like that because you're different, it's their own insecurities that are coming out, and they're projecting them onto you. Why do you think so many? I mean. And that goes for just about anything. If you're trying to do something different than the norm, whether that be, I don't know, starting a new hobby, starting your own business, whatever it is, something that's not the norm, typically you'll get the, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool, or you might get the, yeah, you'll never make it, or what are you thinking? It's people project their insecurities on you because you are trying to get better than what they're perceiving their lot in life is. You're trying to better yourself. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they look down on that.
But that aside, like, if somebody comes out and says, I was abducted by a UFO, there's still going to be a lot of people who think you're crazy. Or, yeah, okay, because aliens exist, and they get sarcastic or they get mean.
I think nowadays you might be more inclined to get people to believe you nowadays.
Yeah, but there's still a lot.
You're still going to get a lot of people that don't believe it.
But go back 30 years. Go back 40 years, especially. I mean, look at so many movies that portray, like, people who say they're abducted by aliens are a joke. A lot of these people get laughed at because they come out and say this happened. Now, whether it really happened or not, like, there's always going to be some people who do it for attention, even if it's negative.
Sure.
But a lot of people, they go into seclusion when something happens to them that's so out of the norm. Or even, like, in general, when people are psychic or, you know, read forms of divination, and people shun them. And you know, that happened to me. Like, you read tarot, and it still happens. I get that judgment from some people, and it just took a long time to finally be like, yeah, and I am who I am, and I'm don't care if you like it or not. Like, that took a long time to get there, but not everyone does, and not everyone, you know, has gone through something where they're able to get over that hill as quickly, I guess. And it's just really sad, because even if you don't understand something, it shouldn't mean make fun of somebody or shun them for it, because it's weird to you.
Agreed. So just take that lesson.
Be nice.
Be nice to people, for crying out loud. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this documentary, I was not familiar with Juan Perez's story, didn't know anything about it, and we watched the trailer, and I was like, okay, yep, I want to watch this. I felt like, okay, yeah, this needs to be watched.
Yeah. I was actually surprised that you were like, okay, yeah.
Really?
Like, oh, all right. Yeah, I was kind of half expecting you to be like, nah, I'm not really in the mood for this one. It doesn't really look like something interesting to me. And honestly, like, when we started it, the first couple minutes I was like, this feels really slow, and it kind of kept that pace the entire time.
I didn't feel that way.
But what I mean is, it's a story about a guy who had an abduction experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess going into it, I was expecting it to be more recreations of things, seeing drawings of beings or pictures, you know, the stuff that you typically see in these kind of things. It was really not much of that
They
at
had
all.
some recreation of one as a boy.
Yeah, but like I said, it wasn't really much of that at all.
No,
It was more
which
just
I
kind
liked,
of.
because
It actually ended up being really good. That's what I'm trying to explain. I had a certain expectation going in, and it ended up being completely different from what I thought it would be, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like the way that they did it. They had some recreations, but it was small, and it wasn't everything, because I wanted to know about Juan. Like, I want his story. I want to see where he's at. So yeah, so that is Witness from Another World.
Witness.
Witness of Another World.
Of Another World.
My bad.
Before we watched Witness of Another World, I watched the top 10 UFO sightings.
So we've been talking about UFO sightings, and one of the things I want to start doing is looking up more New England stuff, because I think there's stories from like the 1600s in Massachusetts. So that's really interesting. So that's something I'm going to keep researching on.
Yeah, we'll definitely do like a UFO, another UFO show in the future. But there was a bunch of them that I was just like, these are top 10. I was kind of. Again, anytime you get one of these list shows or list kind of
it's
things, it's all subjective. It's all people's opinions and whatever. But yeah, it was just, that's what I was watching before we watched this. You kind of came into the room towards the tail end of it, and I was like, oh, you want to watch this? I think maybe that also kind of weighed a little bit on what I was expecting going into it, because I just finished watching this documentary with all these different UFO sightings and stuff like that, and then going into watching something about somebody that had a UFO experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know.
Another topic, probably when we talk about UFO encounters in New England, I found out actually from our friends at Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars podcast, a story about the town right next to us, Goffstown, New Hampshire, had a UFO encounter back in the 70s. So
a UFO encounter? What, the whole town had an encounter?
No, this person had an encounter.
Oh, okay. You said Goffstown.
Okay. A woman driving in Goffstown had a UFO encounter.
I just want to make sure we're being clear for the audience is all.
So I'll bring
I know what you meant, but somebody else, somebody in Australia may not understand what you're talking about.
Well, thank you for pointing out all of my flaws.
You don't have many flaws.
I love you.
I love you too.
He knows how to make it better.
I try.
You sweet talker, you.
Try. So, yeah.
It just made me think of like trying to move things onto a lighter subject. So we're watching TV last night,
Oh, jeez.
And I wanted to go get a snack, so I asked him to pause it. Like, can you pause it? And
What
I
were we
couldn't.
watching? I can't remember what we were watching now.
Club Dread. Because it's
Club
an
Dread.
awesome movie.
Yes,
We need
Club
to talk
Dread.
about that movie on the show
Oh,
soon.
sure.
Love that movie. But so I couldn't think of what the remote was called, and I wanted it paused. So the first thing that pops in my brain is the pause machine. And it was so funny because I was going to keep that to myself because I didn't say it out loud. And I'm like, no, I'll tell him. And I
I'm
told
so
him.
glad you did.
He was laughing so hard. Because sometimes, you know how your brain can't think of a word of something and it kind of tries to put something else
The
together.
pause
The
machine.
pause machine.
Can you get the pause machine?
Not even like the pause button or the remote.
Like, what?
I had him in stitches.
Yeah,
It was great.
my face hurts right now from smiling. Because, yeah,
Mine
it
is
was,
too.
it was good.
Thinking
It was
about
funny.
it, like part of what made me think about it and bring it up is just that being afraid to tell people things and feeling judged. And it was like, he might think I'm a total moron if I say that and never let me live it down. But because I trust him, I figured he's either going to find it funny or stupid. It's one or the other, not a big deal. And he laughed a lot. So sometimes you kind of have to put yourself out there.
Well, you also have it kind of easy because, remember, I used to fake fight guys in my underwear, so...
I used to real fight guys in my underwear. I'm joking. I was kidding. I was trying to be funny.
Oh,
I used to fight guys, not in my underwear though. Like real fight.
alright. Anyhow, yeah, so you're not going to say anything that's going to make me feel... Or that's going to be sillier than what I used to do for fun, so...
Good to know.
That's all. Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yeah. No. It was a funny line. It's still funny thinking about it. Everybody else is probably, what? What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't care either.
As you can tell, I've, kind of gotten to the point of I don't care. Whatever. Judge me, think whatever you want of me. It's your problem, not mine.
I heard this a long time ago, and it is so true. What you think of me is none of my business.
Very good.
Because really, I don't care. Care what you think of me.
Yeah.
Just like you probably shouldn't care what I think of you. Live your life for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yep. You do you, baby. Yeah. You do you.
It's very difficult to offend me by saying something about me or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I know who I am. I know what I do. I know what I stand for.
Well-
If you get offended by something I say or think or feel,
See, like for me...
that's not my problem. That's your problem.
But, like, for me, it's not that I got offended by what others think. It's just I always wanted to please everybody. I wanted to be everybody's friend. I wanted to make everybody happy, and I wanted to fix everything and make everything better for everybody. And
Yeah, that's
so
never gonna
if
happen.
somebody wasn't happy with something I did, or, they didn't like me for whatever reason, it was hard because it's like, I'm really nice, and I'm not mean, and... I don't understand what their problem is with me, and it was really hard, and it took how many ever years to get to the point of whatever, I don't care. And it was weird because it was not something, it took a little bit of time, but I kind of just got to a point, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get to that point where you have to realize you're never going to please everybody.
Yeah.
You're never going to be on the same page as everybody else. Everybody is different. Everybody believes different things for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always try to tell our kids, live your life for you. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't do something because somebody else is doing it or somebody else expects you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do it because you want to do it. Believe what you want to believe and question everything.
Indeed. Everything.
On that note, where can people find us on social media?
On social media, we're on Twitter, @Homewrecker Podcast. On Instagram, Oh, I said it reversed. We're on let me try that again.
No. Hold on. I say the social media.
But you
that we're
didn't.
on. You just ran right over me on that.
Well, you didn't. I was waiting.
How long were you waiting for? Would you
2 seconds.
0.2 milliseconds.
I think it was like 2 seconds. It didn't
Jeez.
flow. You paused, and I thought, oh, okay, he wants me to do it. We're shaking it up. We're changing things. I guess not. Alrighty then. Take 2?
I'm not editing this either.
No,
I'm
no,
just gonna
no.
leave this
Leave
all
it in.
We're gonna leave
I
it
don't
all in.
care. See, because I don't care.
There you go. What were we talking about?
Social media.
So, you can find us on social media. We have a Twitter.
We do. At Homewrecker Pod.
You can also find us on Instagram.
Homewrecker Podcast.
And we have a website where you can purchase Homewrecker t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also join our forum and interact with us or with anybody else that decides to join the community. We really got to get membership up on that thing.
I know. Also, I want to
Gosh.
say what
And what is the Homewrecker
Oh,
website?
www.homewreckerpodcast.com.
Okay, now
And
what are you going to say?
I want to add with the t-shirts. So, like, if you're watching my shirt, I have my Darth Vader shirt. I like to take t-shirts and cut them up into tank tops and stuff like this. So, if you buy a shirt and you do that, send me a picture. Because I love that stuff. Alex hates it when I do that with shirts.
I can't stand it.
He's like,
take
"You're ruining a good
brand
shirt."
new shirt and you just cut it up. And I'm like, what
Because-
are you doing?
I make it my style. I make it the way I want it to be.
And I should know by now, every single time you do it, it always ends up looking awesome. It looks great. But I just look at it like this shirt, brand new, and you just cut it up. I'm going, what are you doing? And it always looks good anyway, so I should just shut up.
But I'm just saying that if you're like me and you're creative, I won't be offended if you cut up our shirts and make them into tank tops, even though you can buy tank tops, but do whatever. But if you do, send me a picture, because I want to see.
You get on the t-shirt subject. You have this Nightmare on Elm Street shirt that you cut up.
Yeah.
That is so awesome that there's people that have actually asked if you bought it that way.
Yeah, because I cut slits in the back. I actually put my hand on the back to measure the slits to cut so it looks like Freddy is ripping the back of my
I'm
shirt.
going to try to remember to have you put that on for our next podcast so
Okay.
people can actually see it. Obviously, people
I've worn it
listening aren't
before,
gonna be able
like
to-
one of our earlier
Oh,
episodes,
have you?
but
Oh, okay.
I don't think we were recording then. Or maybe like early, like when maybe we do. I'll have to go back and see if we have a video of me with a Freddy shirt.
Okay. Anyhow,
Totally random, sorry.
so yeah,
But thank you for the compliment.
absolutely. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about the shirts or the website?
No.
All right. And if you haven't already, wherever you listen to your podcast, be it iTunes or Podbean, Stitcher, hit the subscribe button. And if you don't mind, leave us a 5-star review. Helps us to get eyeballs on the show, grow the show, all that good stuff. And we appreciate all of your support. And we
You really
hope
do.
that wherever you are during this ridiculous time in human history, that you are safe and healthy.
And I hope that everyone checks out the documentary Witness of Another World.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really good.
It's definitely, I definitely recommend it. Monique obviously does as well. And until next time. See, I waited a little extra time there because I thought, oh, she's gonna try to change it up. Maybe she's gonna say, I've been the trophy winner. You know, I thought you were gonna try to flip it around and mess around with our closing.
Nope.
But okay,
I was just thinking, people are gonna like think, what happened to the podcast?
what's wrong with these guys today?
Are they having technical difficulties? Is it done?
I am seriously not going to edit anything. I'm leaving in all the ums,
Leave it.
the uhs, the uncomfortable pauses.
Do
Just leave
it.
them all in this time.
Just do it.
Why not? See what happens.
Yeah, I don't care.
All right. Until next time, I am the Golden Greek Alex Arion. I've been joined, as always, by my beautiful, gorgeous, lovely, amazing, seriously gorgeous,
Thank you.
trophy wife, Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker Podcast.